It was supposed to be a quiet Sunday afternoon in a small American town, the kind where everyone knew each other and doors were left unlocked. The streets were calm, the sun was bright, and the sound of engines from a group of bikers rumbled through Main Street, but everything changed when a little boy, no older than 7, ran up to those bikers with tears streaming down his dusty face. He tugged on the sleeve of the lead rider and whispered, trembling, They took my sister." The engines went silent. And in that instant, those tough-looking men in leather jackets became something else entirely. Heroes, before we dive into this powerful story of courage and kindness, don't forget to subscribe to Whispers of Goodness, the channel that brings you real and heart-touching stories that remind us humanity is still alive. Hit the like button if you believe kindness can still change the world, and tell us your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Now, let's get into today's story. The small town of Willow Creek was known for its quiet charm, a diner on every corner, friendly neighbors, and that unmistakable small-town warmth. On weekends, a group of bikers would roll into town and park by Nagy's Diner, their favorite hangout. Despite their rough looks, tattoos, beards, and roaring Harleys, these men weren't troublemakers. They were part of a local group called Guardians of Grace, known for raising money for veterans, delivering toys to sick kids, and helping anyone in need. That Sunday afternoon, they were enjoying burgers and root beer when everything changed. A little boy, wearing a torn red t-shirt and no shoes, stumbled toward them. His face was pale, his hands were shaking, and his big blue eyes were filled with fear. He could barely breathe as he reached the leader, a tall man named Jackson Bear Miller. "Whoa there, buddy," Bear said, kneeling to the boy's level. "You okay? What happened?" The boy looked up, lips trembling, and whispered, "They took my sister. They put her in a van." Every biker froze. The laughter stopped. The sound of plates clinking faded. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Bear's voice softened. "Who took her, son?" The boy pointed toward the road leading out of town. "2 men, they said they were gonna give her candy, and they drove off." The bikers exchanged quick, serious looks. There was no hesitation, no discussion. Bear stood up, his jaw tight. "Boys," he said, pulling his helmet back on, "we ride." The search begins. Within seconds, the engines roared to life. The sound echoed through Main Street as the Guardians of Grace spread out in different directions. They didn't wait for the police. They didn't question if it was their business. They just moved to Bear, took the boy, whose name was Tommy, and put him on his bike. "You show me where you saw them last," he said gently. Tommy held onto Bear's vest tightly as they sped toward the old highway. Dust kicked up behind them as they rode fast, hearts pounding. Meanwhile, other bikers fanned out, some heading toward the gas station, others checking old warehouses on the edge of town. Bear spoke into his radio, eyes open, "Everyone. We're looking for a white van, broken backlight, heading east." Minutes felt like hours. Then one of the bikers' voices came through the radio. "Bear. I think I got something. White van, 2 miles up Route 12 near the abandoned sawmill." Bear didn't waste a second. "We're on our way." The confrontation. When they reached the sawmill, the bikers surrounded the area quietly. The white van was there, engine still running. Inside, through the cracked window, Bear saw a little girl, maybe 5 years old, crying and clutching a stuffed bunny. His blood boiled. 2 men stood nearby, arguing. They didn't notice the rumble of engines getting closer, until it was too late. The bikers blocked every exit, forming a tight circle. The kidnappers froze as 10 large men stepped off their bikes, leather jackets gleaming, boots hitting the dirt. Bear stepped forward, his voice low but firm. "Let her go. Now." One of the men tried to bluff, saying, "You don't know what you're messing with." Bear stared at him coldly. "You're right. I don't. And you don't know who we are." Before the man could reach for anything, one biker, nicknamed Tank, moved faster than anyone expected. In seconds, they had both men on the ground. Bear opened the van door and knelt beside the little girl. "Hey, sweetheart," he said softly, "it's okay now. We're friends of your brother." She sniffled and looked up at him with wide, tear-streaked eyes. "You found me," she whispered. Bear smiled gently. "Yeah. And we're taking you home." The return. When the bikers rolled back into Willow Creek, people gathered along the street, whispering and pointing. The sheriff's car pulled up just as they arrived at the diner. Tommy jumped off Bear's bike and ran to his sister, hugging her tightly. "I thought I lost you," he cried. The little girl, Lily, hugged him back, burying her face in his shoulder. The crowd cheered as they realized what had happened. The sheriff walked up to Bear, his hat in hand. "Heard you boys did my job for me," he said with a half smile. Bear shook his head. "Just couldn't stand by, Sheriff." The kid asked for help. "What were we supposed to do?" The sheriff nodded, his eyes soft. "You did good, son. Real good." As the kidnappers were taken away in handcuffs, the townspeople clapped and cheered. But Bear and his crew didn't stay for the attention. They just smiled, patted Tommy on the shoulder, and got ready to ride again. A community's gratitude. A few days later, Maggie's diner was packed. The owner, Maggie herself, had invited the Guardians of Grace for a free meal. On the wall hung a photo, Tommy and Lily standing between the bikers, all smiling. Above it was a handwritten note, "To the heroes who didn't wait, thank you for your kindness." Bear looked at it quietly for a moment before saying, "We're no heroes, Maggie. We just did what anyone should have done." Maggie smiled. "Maybe so, Bear. But you actually did it." Tommy's gift. Weeks later, on another Sunday afternoon, the bikers rode into town again. This time, Tommy and Lily were waiting for them. Tommy ran up to Bear holding something behind his back. "I made you this," he said shyly. It was a drawing, 10 motorcycles, a little boy and girl in the middle, and big letters that said, "My heroes." Bear took the paper, his tough expression melting into a soft smile. He crouched down and hugged Tommy. "Thanks, little man. You and your sister are the real heroes. You didn't give up." Tommy whispered, "You didn't either." The lesson from that day on, the people of Willow Creek saw the bikers differently. They weren't just men with loud engines and leather jackets, they were symbols of courage, unity, and compassion. Whenever someone in town needed help, a broken fence, a sick neighbor, a lost pet, the Guardians of Grace showed up. No questions asked, and every year, on that same Sunday, they hosted a charity ride called Lily's Ride for Hope. All the money went to missing children's organizations, helping families find their loved ones. The first time Lily stood on stage to speak, she was only 6. She said, "When I was scared, the bikers found me. They didn't wait. They were kind. I want to be like them when I grow up." The crowd went silent, and then everyone stood and applauded. Kindness isn't always soft or quiet. Sometimes, it's loud, roaring down a highway on 2 wheels, fueled by courage and love. It's doing the right thing when there's no time to think, no promise of reward, no camera to capture it. It's choosing to act, because someone needs you that day. A group of rough-looking bikers showed the world that kindness wears many faces. Sometimes it's leather and tattoos. Sometimes it's a hug from a stranger, but it's always powerful. Always needed. So, wherever you are today, if you see someone in trouble, remember, you don't need a badge, a cape, or a Harley to be a hero. You just need a kind heart, and the courage to act. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to Whispers of Goodness, where we share real stories that remind us how beautiful humanity can be. Hit like, drop a comment to tell us what you felt, and share this video, because kindness deserves to be heard, seen, and remembered. Can replace this text with any text you wish. You can either write in this text box or paste your own text here. Try different languages and voices. Change the speed and the pitch of the voice. You can even tweak the SSML, speech synthesis markup language, to control how the different sections of the text sound. Click on SSML above to give it a try. Enjoy using text-to-speech.